everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Paranormal Vlogs. Growing Up Paranormal, episode 8. So I finally made it to episode 8. I was trying to figure out the live, but no matter what I used, it wouldn't work. I tried using this program and it would stream for like 2 seconds and kick me off. I tried using Google Hangouts and it said I needed to use Chrome, so I went into Chrome and my camera didn't even turn on. So then I tried using the regular Go Live camera thing, the new one, and everything worked except it wouldn't go. It just kept going live and it kept going round and round. So I gave up after trying everything I could. So who knows? I may never figure it out. But we'll see. If I do, I'll do a live. But I did try. So in the last episode, I discussed some things that were unexplained. And now if you didn't see all my other episodes, the chance to go and do it right now before you watch this one. So if you're ready to start watching episode 8, turn the lights down, light the candles, get into something more comfortable, pour yourself a drink, get some snacks, grab your cat and dog, or one or the other, and get ready to watch. If you hear a noise, it's my cat Salem. He decided to play in his room right now. I could turn the camera around. Let's see if you can get him. No, you probably can't. Let's see. Can you get him? There he is. Salem is playing in his room. He's silly. He is bored right now. So the thunder. But it's actually a sunny, nice fall day, a little chilly, but it's a nice day. So if you don't mind the sound of my cat playing with his toy, we'll start going. Salem, you want to say hello? He doesn't want to say hello. So in this episode, I'm going to talk about a few different things. We're going to jump over from when I was younger to now and back and forth. Okay, so my first thing I'm going to talk about is, I guess you could call them knowings and premonitions. This happened when I was very young. I'm trying to remember if I was in kindergarten or first grade. I was young, so I'm imagining it was kindergarten. I was probably 4, not even 5 yet. And I remember I had a bad toothache. And I'm thinking of this story because I just got a wisdom tooth taken out and I got my front teeth fixed. So it made me think of what happened to me a long time ago. So I had a bad toothache. I never had a problem with my teeth ever, and it was the worst toothache ever. And I kept telling my father that, he didn't want to spend money for the dentist. He's like, oh, just here, do this. He gave me whiskey. Go rinse with some whiskey, it'll numb it up. Meanwhile, I'm a little kid. And I remember it was killing me, the pain of it all, And after a while, because nobody took me to the dentist, my mother kept bugging my father. My father was like, she'll be okay. Eventually, it started tasting really bad, like poop. And I remember telling my mother in the car, and she picked me up from school, like, my mouth tastes gross, it tastes like poop, it does this, and she's like, well, your father, we'll see if we can get him to take you to the dentist or whatever. So, and in those days in the 70s, you know, you had your neighborhood dentist in the house. We knew everybody. My sisters went to school with his daughters. Sorry about the noise from my cat, but he's bored and he wants to play. So, from there, I wanted to go. My mouth tastes yucky. I wanted to go to the dentist and my tooth really hurt. And it was just getting worse to the point where I ended up having a fever and getting really sick. So now my mother was concerned. She's like, she has to go. That's it. And whatever she said in Italian to my father. So she made an appointment. She brought me down. And my dentist said it needed to be pulled immediately. And he gave me some antibiotics, sent me home, and set an appointment for the following day to get it pulled. Or just to wait because it was infected. So the antibiotics had to kick in. And so I remember that we had an appointment and I was so nervous. Meanwhile, I'd never been to the dentist, never had a problem. And now they were saying your tooth's got to be pulled. So when you're a little kid and you've never had any of this, you imagine all this harm, like, what are they going to do to me, you know? And I remember being extremely terrified and nervous about it. And then when I went to sleep that night, I also was in pain. I didn't feel too good. The dream I had was with, you know the thing on the Twilight Zone, the beginning of the Twilight Zone, the little swirl, you know, the swirl that goes around. Well, the dream started off with that little swirl, you know, like you're going into the twilight zone. And then the sensation of falling. And I believe my consciousness was actually time traveling, because that's what you're going to feel. And that spiral is like a time thing. It really is. That's why they probably showed it on the Twilight Zone. They're giving you little bits of truth on TV land. So I saw that. I felt like I was falling. And I remember in the dream, I was with my mother. We went in this building, went up to this counter, and there was a lady there, probably the receptionist. And then behind her was the dentist, and he came forward and he's like, hello. And I remember looking at him, and then it took me into the room where they were going to extract my tooth. And I remember feeling nervous, and you know, they put the big gas thing on you, and to this day I don't like those things. And I remember fighting the nurse, trying to take it off, and she's like, it's okay, just hold my hand, and you'll be okay. Now take a deep breath, just relax. And I did that, and I remember that. And then I saw the do-do-do-do-do-do, the little swirl again from Twilight Zone, and I woke up. So, okay, so what happened now was the next day comes, my mother takes me to the dentist to get my tooth pulled. And then I remember getting out, walking into the building, and it all looked familiar. We get up to the desk, the room was familiar. I knew where everything was already because I've been there in my dream, my premonition. The nurse was the same reception nurse lady, and the dentist comes up to the counter, and he was identical. So I remember looking at him like, you know, and like, I know you, oh my God, I just saw you last night. And I remember he's like, it's okay, you're looking at me like you just seen a ghost. And I was like, no, I'm just reliving whatever I just in my head, but I couldn't tell you. And I remember pulling on my mother's hand going, Mom, Mommy. And she said, it's okay, Mom. And I'm like, come here. And so she bent down, you know, the little kid. I'm like, I saw that man in my dream last night. I was here last night, you know? And so as if I wasn't terrified enough about getting my tooth pulled, and I'm a little, like, 4-year-old, maybe 5. Could you imagine now going through the same experience I went to in my dream or premonition, and then seeing the dentist, seeing the same dentist guy and nurse receptionist that I saw. So now I'm like, uh-oh, you know. So I was nervous as it was about the tooth. Now this was freaking me out. And how do you explain this? So I tried to tell my mother, she's like, it'll be okay, you're just nervous. I'm like, no, you don't understand. Nobody listens to a little kid. If you have little kids, listen to them. And it was frustrating, extremely frustrating. So, Salem, come here, boy. My cat doesn't care. So, the same thing happened. I end up in that room. The same nurse. She puts the thing on, and again, I'm fighting it in the same exact words. Don't worry about it. I'm right here. Hold my hand. Exactly as everything went exactly like in my dream or premonition. And then I saw that spiral thing, right? And that happened from toilets. And I went to sleep, and I guess they pulled my tooth, and I came to, and then I remember being in the recovery room waiting, and then my mother took me home. So once I wasn't groggy anymore, I was able to tell my mother about this. And I said it to my sisters, anybody who would listen to me. But again, like I said, I was a little kid, and nobody listens to the little kid. No matter how many weird things I told them about, and yet here was another, still the same. But it did freak me out. And I never forgotten that. And so I looked into things like that. For instance, for time travel or your consciousness, because you time travel using your consciousness. You yourself doesn't have to go anywhere, but your consciousness can, because I guess it's complicated, but you have different aspects of yourself, and a lot of them are in different timelines. So your past is going on right now while we're sitting here. Your future is going on right now while we're sitting here. And the present, obviously, is going on right now while I'm sitting here. But you've got different, so you're still going on there, you're still going on there. So you can time travel to wherever you are at. So my consciousness did this. I don't know if it was because of the extreme duress I was under, the nervousness, the being so scared that it triggered me to get that premonition or be able to time travel my consciousness just to see what it was like so I know whether I should be nervous or not. Or if the things that watch out for me all the time thought it was best that I get a preview so that maybe I won't be so nervous the next day, because they realized how scared I was and they wanted to show me so that maybe they weren't sure, but maybe I wouldn't be so nervous and scared about it. But it really didn't work that well. But it could be that, or it could have been a premonition. The only reason why I say consciousness time traveling is because of the spiral. And you'd have to do research on that, and you'll understand, because I do a lot of research on a lot of things since I was very little, because since adults around me wouldn't and couldn't give me explanations for the things or would just say I'm crazy, and I wanted to see if there was other people experiencing all the things and hearing and seeing and all that like I was. So in order to do that, that made me delve into every aspect of the paranormal, the unexplained, the supernatural, the weird, the strange, the crazy, the all of it. And I've been researching ever since I was a little kid, and then was able to, you know, just to see about experiences and what they could mean, and if anyone else has had it, and, you know, what were their explanations for it all. So that was a really freaky thing, and I just wanted to tell you that story. So the other thing I wanted to discuss is when I had these creepy old maid cards. Does anybody remember old maid cards? I think they have them now, but They're not as creepy as they were back in the 70s. In the 70s, they made them, I guess, old, not French made, but old made. They were like people, it was, I think a French thing, French cards, whatever, but they were old maid cards, and they had these long, skinny people with these long, creepy fingers, and then you had the old maid lady that was like, woo, with the old lady hair and hat, and the deck of cards back then, they were just creepy. I didn't like them, and for some strange reason, I was afraid of them. I know, I picked weird things to be afraid of. But there was just a weird feeling from the old maid cards, aside from those people looking kind of creepy and stick figure-ish and long fingers and long limbs and just creepy. So I remember one night I was playing old, I still played the game even though I was kind of freaked out, and I had the deck of cards in my room, and I remember they were flipped up, and I didn't realize it, and I went to bed, and I'm laying there, and I'm like looking at the old maid cards, and I'm like, ugh. And I remember they were moving on the cards, like slowly, like the dolls. If you remember episode 2, when I told you about the dolls, how they moved extremely slow. So I got up, put my light on, and I closed it and put it in the pack and everything. So then, in the middle of the night, now I don't know, I doubt it was a dream, because I could swear I was awake, and those things came out of the cards and actually were right there walking around my room. So I remember being terrified and having those spindly little, kind of like those big fat things that were climbing when I was sick, and I think episode 3, and they were just creepy. And I remember being terrified, and I think I ran out of my room. I managed to get the courage to run past them and run out and tell my mother, but I didn't have a fever this time, so she couldn't say you're delusional. But I remember that being creepy, and that's all I remember about it. That memory is kind of sketchy because I kind of wanted to forget it, so they wanted to make me less afraid of the old maid cards, so they'd make me play them, and see, they're just cards. See, they can't come off, but I know what I saw. So whether they actually came out of the cards or not, they were just creepy to look at, and I was afraid of them for some reason. So there had to be a reason. Because I'm not, just because they're creepy looking, I'm not going to be afraid of them, After a while, I didn't even want to touch them to play with them, but I did. But then they came out with a cuter set, and my mother bought me that set. They were cute, they weren't scary looking or creepy. And she's like, here, I got this set for you, so this should be better. So my other sister had the creepy set, and I just never wanted to play this. She's like, well, I want to use these. I'm like, then I'm not playing. So that's what we did. So now, all right, so now I have a few other stories. This was back when I turned 14. My mother died on my birthday, and I knew she was sick. She had lung cancer from smoking too many cigarettes all her life. And she was in the hospital, and she wasn't doing well, and I just all along knew that she was going to die on my birthday. So that whole day at school, I had a bad feeling, and then walking home from school, I just knew it. When you just know something, I knew it. So as I'm walking home, now I see my sisters, all my sisters in the middle of the day when they should be at work by the house, and at that time they didn't live there anymore. Just my one sister, P, did, but my sister J and N, the two oldest, were married, had kids, didn't live there anymore. So I knew something was up because I saw them across the street talking to my neighbor, and I just knew it. And that kind of confirmed it. So sure enough, I come over, and they come up to me, and they tell me, and they're like, this is what this was, she wasn't dead yet, but she was about to. She went into a coma. So they were telling me that we have to go to the hospital, and this is probably it. So we went, I dropped off my school books and stuff and changed, grabbed some, eat really quick, and we went. And she was in a coma and everything, and I kind of knew that she was probably going to go that day. So my sisters were all busy, between back and forth in the hospital, and my father was going to stay there, and so I was with my best friend, and we went, and at that time, she used to live at my house, the one that we did the Ouija board that I explained in one of the episodes, my friend Michelle, and I went, she was living with her aunt now, which was her guardian, because her parents had died. So we were sleeping in the upstairs room, and it was dark in the room, and you just had light from the window. So, we were like talking and being, teenagers. Like I said, it was 14. And all of a sudden I heard my name whisper, but it was my mother's voice. She said my name a certain way because of her thick Italian accent, and she said it. And I remember my friend Michelle's like, that was your mother. And I heard it too. And it was right after her aunt had come in at 11:17 and told me, she's like, are you awake? She called my name and she said, well, your mother just passed at 11:17. And then she's like, did you want to talk? I'm like, no. Because I had just woken up. We were sleeping. So I just basically laid there, and that's when I heard my name in my mother's voice with her Italian accent, and my friend Michelle heard it, and we both went, did you hear that? We were both, did you hear that? And she's like, that was your mother. I'm like, yeah. And then I was just kind of scared and freaked out, and she was freaked out, and I'm like, Ma, is that you? But I got too scared, and I think she didn't want to scare me. So I know that was her because, number one, that was her voice, the thick Italian accent, and because a long time ago, since she is the only one I could really talk to about my abilities, because my father was very religious and he didn't want to hear it. He was, oh, that's the devil, those are demons, blah, blah, blah. I couldn't talk to him, and I talked to her, and she had abilities. So she told me that, like, if she ever, when she dies, she's like, I'll come visit you. And I go, all right, we'll just say my name. And she did. So that's how I know it was her, because she did, but she scared me. And I even said, just don't scare me. And I got scared, so maybe she remembers it, just don't scare me. So since I was kind of freaked out and startled by it, and my friend was scared, she didn't want to scare us, and she left. But she was basically coming to say goodbye. So that I remember, and there were other incidences as well with other things. So yeah, that was a little strange in itself, hearing strange things in the middle of the night, calling your name. But this time I knew it was my mother, and I figured that she would do that, Now I do have recordings. The first time I decided to record and speak with my mother and ask her if that was her that night, which I know was, I remember I'm like, hello, it's me. Well, but usually I think when you speak another language, when you pass, you just will communicate in that language. And so the most comfortable and native language to my mother and father were Italian, and old Italian, not the newer type. And so when I contacted them and I'm like, hello, and all I heard was buongiorno, buongiorno, my mother and my father, and I'm like, so, it's been a while, and I was talking to my mother, and my mother was going a million miles a minute in Italian. I'm like, slow down, I don't know that much. Speak English. And then she slowed down and spoke English. And my father too, you know. He was like, buongiorno. And he started, and I go, speak English, you know. They never wanted me to know Italian too well because I was the youngest and they would talk their adult talk at night. And I'd be there like, what are you saying? So this way I wouldn't know what they were saying. And they liked it that way. But of course I learned all the bad words. Because I could say the bad words and not get in trouble as long as I said it in Italian because they thought it was funny. But yeah, that was, I have those recordings. So hopefully in maybe a future episode, I will have some of those recordings that are loud enough. Now, I'd like to put them in here, but it's really hard because, like I said on my last episode, some of them may be hard to hear. So if you watch this video, watch it on a laptop or desktop or tablet and get some earphones so that when I can put some EVPs in, not this video in particular, but the next video that I do with EVP recordings, I guess you're going to call that. To me, I call them conversations because I'm not out to try to get them. I know I will get them. Now, I usually talk to people that I know that have passed, like my mother, my father. I check up on my cat, Butterball. He has a spirit that speaks for him, although he will meow for me. That's another thing. When my cat, Butterball, died, he had to be put down because he was really sick. He was always sick. I found him on my patio when I lived in Florida on my front porch. He was underneath and I heard this loud kitten meow. And at the time I had my other cats, Spunky and Cuddles and Midnight. And Spunky and Cuddles were on the window seat and I was in another room and I thought I heard meowing and they were looking. And it was a high-pitched and I knew it was a kitten. So I went and I found him and he was underneath the patio and he looked to be only 3 to 4 days old. His eyes weren't even open yet. So I cleaned him up, called my vet, she told me what to get to feed him, the special milk, and then I remember I set an appointment to take him to the vet the next week, and I took care of him, and she's like, you know, he's very tiny, his parents probably abandoned him because he was the runt, and, you know, don't be heartbroken if he doesn't make it. And I said, oh, he'll make it, and I made sure, and he was a tough little kid, and a little kitten, but to me he was a kid. And he was strong, but around 3 years old, he developed all these kind of sicknesses, and then he was like, he had bladder issues, he used to get urine crystals, he was, I think he needed a special protein diet, and then he also was like lactose intolerant. I mean, he had like a lot of issues. So he had one special food that cost a lot of money that I get, and he never liked canned food, even as a kitten. He only ate dry food, which is horrible because they know eventually just dry food isn't good because it gets to your kidneys and livers. And so if you have cats, just feed them canned food with only a little teeny bit of dry food. So he wasn't doing well. And eventually, though, he was really bad at one point, but he got better. And, you know, it was an off and on thing, always having to rush him to the hospital or to the vet. And then eventually, you know, he had some good years, and he was, I have lots of videos on my channel, by the way, of Butterball, including the last video that I ever took of him, which I knew was going to be the last video because I knew we had to take him in to relieve him of his pain while he still knew who he was and who we were. And I had a very strong bond with him. That's why he always takes pictures for me. And I showed you Butterball in the water scrying pictures. And I heard him come to me the day that we had to put him down. We were at the vet and we brought along a recording on the phone of his favorite meditation song. I play Reiki, like the Llewellyn ones, and he had a favorite one, and you can tell. And so we brought that to play, and we kissed him, and we said our goodbyes, and the vet you know, administrated the pain stuff first, and we kissed him, and he had his music playing, and then that was it. And then he was gone, and it was sad, and I felt lost, you know. And we had a very strong bond. So I did whisper in his ears, you make sure, and matter of fact, the last words as I was leaving his body there, walking out, I said, make sure you meow for mommy. Meow. I'll hear you. You know I'll hear you. Meow for me. You know, let me know you're okay. Meow maybe 2 or 3 times. And I said that a few times to him before, and as I was walking out after he was already gone. I said those were my last words as I was leaving the building. So that night, even though I still had Rudy, it felt very empty and sad. And I was laying in bed, and my husband was snoring away and sleeping, and me and Rudy, as usual, he likes to cuddle, like I explained in the last episode. We're laying there, and all of a sudden I hear Butterball's mew. And he had still a kitten meow even at 11 years old. He had that high-pitched voice that never ended. It still sounded like a kitten, and I heard it twice. So the first time you hear it, and I saw my cat Rudy sat up and looked around, and then I'm like, you heard that? And then all of a sudden I heard it again, and I'm like, it's Butterball. And so I got up and I'm looking, I'm like, Butterball, you came to say goodbye to mommy. I'm like, I'm glad you're okay, because that meant he was okay. He was coming to tell me he was okay, because I asked him. So, yeah, and some nights I felt him. He had a special spot, like, I had an extra little pillow because he used to share my pillow and sleep. Like, here's my head. He used to sleep more up, and then Rudy would have to go right next to me and cuddle like that. So they were basically on top of each other. It was Butterball, and Rudy, and me. And that night I kind of felt him one night walk up on the bed and walk over and plop on his side. There was nobody there that you could see with your eyes, but he was. And for a long while I would feel that. I've caught him in some pictures, his orb with his face in it, especially around Christmas, because he loved Christmas. And I have videos of him at Christmas time playing, waiting for his turn. He got so excited. So cats are like people. And yeah, I'm glad that I still can hear him. And every now and then I'll be like, could you meow for mommy? You know, and I'll hear it. And so someone does speak for him, and I get that in EVP, I guess, recordings, and he'll take pictures for me still, and he'll show up in orbs, especially around the holidays, around when my cats are opening their presents. I'm like, come on, Butterball. So yeah, there's the pictures on. I'll try to get all those pictures, and maybe in my next episode I will compile all that together with some EVPs. So it'll be a while before I can put out the next episode. I try to do 2 a day. That's why I'm wearing the same shirt again. I was trying to figure out the live. Maybe I'll be able to, maybe I won't. My husband was looking it up for me, because if I can't do it, like I said, I lose patience with all the computer stuff, so he's better at it. So, okay, well, I hope you like this episode 8. And if you haven't seen my other episodes, go watch them now. So, yeah, that's it. So, thanks for watching my Growing Up Paranormal, my paranormal vlogs. And I'll see you again on my next one. And I'm not sure when that will be. But please like, share, and comment. Even if it's just to say hello or to share an experience you had. Okay, have a good night. Bye.